Okay, review over rational expressions. This is the longest problem on the whole test, okay? Because it's multiplication. Multiplication, you extend the line, you make 3 of your own. You're not getting a common number. You got to factor everything that can possibly be. So we got 3 terms there. That would be factorable. 3 terms here. 2 terms here. If there's more than 1 term, you're going to have to factor it. Okay, the second power plus 12x. So that's 3 terms. So 3 terms is GCFT. You got to know that setup. 2 terms is GCF dot. Those are not going to be any 4-term grouping ones. Okay. You got x at the end. You don't have a negative front. Then 2, 10, and 12 are all in row 2. Okay. So you go up and divide by 2x. And that's going to be 1x to the second power minus 5x plus 6. And we get the wipe out of the x's there. Now, you bring this 2x down, okay, put a times, then cross it out. Now I'm trying to break this down, the 1x second, the minus 5x, the plus 6. By the way, see the x second, it's multiplied by 1, okay? So 1 times 6 is 6, positive, so that's a match of the signs, okay? It's got to add to negative 5. It ain't 1 and 6 because that's negative 7. If that's a mismatch, if they positive negative, that's it, but it's not. 6 divided by 2 is 3. There it is, okay? Okay, A is 1x second. If you want to just go x minus 2, x minus 3, because you know how that turns out, that's fine. I'll show the whole process for people. So x, you apply the 1 in the front. You can't simplify those, okay? Take the 1s off the front of the x's. So you're replacing this with this, okay? 2x times x times quantity x minus 2 times quantity x minus 3. Okay, x is second plus 3x plus 2. You're still on top. So that's a trinomial, 3 terms. So that would be the GCF and then the t-table. No x negative, it's just 1. So 1 times 2 is 2, positive 2. So that's a match on those signs, okay? It's got to add to positive 3, so we see positive 3 up there, probably going to be both positive. 2 divided by 1 is 2. There's your positive 3 right there. A is 1x to the second, okay? So here's A, okay? So it's x times x. 1, 1. Okay, 1 and 1 doesn't divide down. It's just the same. Neither does 1 and 2. You can't simplify those by any common factors. Take the 1s off the front. We have x plus 1 times x plus 2. So this is replaced with this. Okay, then x to the third minus 4x. So it's 2 terms, so that would be GCF and DOPS. So you have x at the end, negative in front, 1 and 4 is 1. So then you divide by 1x. Now this is not x because you're taking x third dividing it by x, okay? Well, that's x second. See how I show that x third divided by x minus 4, then you get the wipe out there. So you bring down the 1x with the times. You know it's there. Is this adopts? Yes, because you got 1 times 1, x to the seconds, x times x, and across over the minus, you got 2 times 2. So it's 1x, 2, 2. Take the 1's off the front of those x's, and it's x plus 2 times x minus 2, and we'll be taking the 1 out the front of that one too. So we replace that with x times x plus 2 times x minus 2. Okay, then x is second minus 2x minus 3. So it's 3 terms. Okay. GCF table. One. Okay. 1 times -3 is -3. Okay. So that's a mismatch. It is a positive, negative, equal to -2. Now your A, the x second, go find the x second, it's multiplied by 1. So remember what we're going to do, that's x times x, we'll put 1's in front of them. Okay, 1 and 1 simplifies by nothing. Same thing here. Okay, so we replace this with this. X plus 1 times x minus 3. This becomes this. Okay. Okay, now you cross off parentheses. X minus 2, got it. X minus 3, got it. X plus 1, got it. X plus 2, got it. I think that's all she wrote for parentheses. Now you got to simplify your outers. So I have 2x here. And here I just have x. So you can't do the dividing by the common factor because you just have a 2. You just drop that. Now these x's are both to the same power, so it'd be pointless to subtract because it'd just be 0. So that get those out. So 2's the answer out of all that mess. Okay. Okay, number 2, multiplication, but this one goes quicker because we don't have, that's one term, okay? So you do not put a parentheses, that's one term. Do not put a parentheses, that's one term. Do not put a parentheses, that's one term. There's no plus or minus anywhere in any of these 4, so there's no parentheses. I don't want to see parentheses. So if that's the case, you just bring them straight over, okay? 4x to the second times 7y on the top, 5y times 12x to the fourth on the bottom. Okay, so there's no parentheses. So we have to simplify the outer factors. So we have 4 and 7 is 60. Now for variable factors, we have y and x to the fourth. So x to the fourth, y. I like to put x before y because it comes first. Now that you have a bottom, so here you just had a 2, so you didn't do it, okay? So now that you actually have something on bottom, you try to divide the 28 and the 64 by the greatest common factor to reduce the fraction. Okay, so here's 4, 28 and 60 is in 4 row. So you divide them both by 4, that's 7, and that's 15. Then the x's, you take out the one that's smaller, minus on the other side. x2, that would be on bottom. Then the y's on that side. Then the other side, we're going to take 2x plus 1 times 5. Now, you see how that's a times, then you don't go make slots. Slots is what you do if there's addition between them. Times, you need to distribute. 4x times 8 is 32x. Then 3 times 8 is 24. 2x times 5 is 10x. 1 times 5 is 5. Times, you distribute. Now, you're ready to solve. I have x and that's it. There's no x to any other funky powers or any of that, so there's only one answer. And I apply linear properties. Okay, take out one of your x's. It doesn't matter which one. 10x. Say 22x plus 24 equals 5. We take out the plus 24 with minus 24. So 22 times x equals negative 19, and I divide by 22. Why don't you just leave that as a fraction, negative 19 over 22. Okay, next problem. Now, we can't use the cross products here because of this 2, so we make the 2 into a ratio. Just leave the bottom empty. Don't put a 1. That's a waste of, you're overcomplicating it, okay? But you see 1, 2, 3. So cross products won't work. You have to use the common denominator method. So you extend your lines. Okay, that's first move. Now your tops. Drop your tops, and you need to put a parentheses, not there, but there, because it's 2 terms. Okay. You don't have to factor the tops in the common denominator method, but you need to put it in parentheses, otherwise you won't know how to multiply it. It'll be all screwed up. Now the bottoms, we don't just drop the bottoms. That's 2 terms, it gets a parentheses. That's 3 terms, it gets a parentheses. Now the bottoms you have to rewrite in factored form if it's possible. So x minus 2. Again, more than one term needs to be parenthesized, and the bottoms need to be factored. So GCF and DOPS. No x, so negative, it's 1. Minus 1 times 1. X doesn't have a power, so no. So that is staying the way it is in its parentheses. Now I better be able to factor that. X to the second plus 1x minus 6. So that's 3 terms, so that would be GCF. And then the t-table. No x, so negative 1, 1, and 6 is 1. Okay? So no outer factor here. 1 times negative 6 is negative 6. So it's going to be a positive multiplied by a negative. And it has to add to give me positive 1. So 6 divided by 1 is 6. That's negative 5. 6 divided by 2 is 3. There's your okay, that's negative 1. To make it positive 1, you just turn them around. That's all you do. You quit dividing at that point. Now it's positive 1. A is 1x to the second power. Okay? So you're going to go xx, and you'll be applying a 1 in front of it. Okay? So negative 2, positive 3. Now you really think those can be simplified? I don't, since that would stay the same, because you just divide it by 1. Okay? So with that, take the 1s off the front, please. So it's x minus 2 times x plus 3. So you replace this with this. Okay? Okay, what do you got? You have nothing on bottom here. Then an x minus 2, x minus 2, x plus 3. So just x, I don't need to repeat x minus 2, obviously. So I have 0 factors of x minus 2 there. I have 1 factor of it here. I have 1 factor of it here. So you need to get this one so it has 1 factor, that first one. Remember, parentheses, you times from behind. X plus 3, 0 factors of x plus 3 there, 0 factors here, but 1 factor here, so everything, these two need an x plus 3. Okay, now the denominators are set on an equation. They can now be canceled. So you line up your equals, you make a parentheses for the top of the first one, plus a parentheses for the top of the second one, equals parentheses for here. Well, here it's just 5. Now I'm going to use the Papa math just to make sure I don't make any careless mistakes with my multiplication. Okay? If you want to Google that now, you can. So this one, you have a 2. That's what you get. Now, without Papa math, first you'd write 2x minus 4, then you'd FOIL, and that's what comes out of that. So 2x to the second plus 2x minus 12. Then over here, x plus 3, that's going to be x second minus 9 because they're conjugates, okay? Minus, and when the second one just switches its sign, it's really just x times x and negative 3 times 3 because the middle two on the FOIL cancel out. Here, I'll punch it in to prove it. See, x second minus 9. When you have conjugates like that, when the second term in each parentheses is opposite, really, on the FOIL, the middle two add to 0. Okay, so that's why it's not there. Okay, now shorten the equation, so it's 5, and then over here, over on this side of the equals, now you have a plus sign, so now you set up your slots to add the like terms together. So x second, 2 plus 1 is 3. X, just 2. Negative 12, negative 9 is negative 21. Alright, so I look through that equation. I have x to the second, and I have x, so that means there's 2 answers, but because there's an x with it, you have to apply your factoring properties. Linear properties will not get the job done. You're going to clear one side, which would obviously be the 5. So then you have 3x second, positive 2x, negative 21 minus 5 is negative 26 equals 0. Now you see the 3 terms, you go to your factoring. One's a GCF. Negative 78. So positive, negative, it's got to add to positive 2. Now I'm here to tell you right now that you'd be chasing ghosts, okay? You can't get 2 factors to add to positive 2, so if you have to come up with the 2 answers, you go to the quadratic formula. So, opposite of B, that's QF, by the way. Plus or minus the square root, B squared minus 4AC, B squared minus 4AC over 2A, over 2A. So the opposite of positive 2 is negative 2. B is 2, 4A is 3, and C is negative 26. Then A on the bottom is 3. So you bring over your positive negative, and you have negative 2. 2 times 3 is 6. Now make the square root. This is how I want it done. Make the square root. Don't hit the square root on the calculator when figuring out the inside. Just go parentheses 2 second. Listen, please. Minus 4, 3, negative 26. Is 316. Okay. Doesn't need an I. Okay. So you go ahead and square root 316. 17.78. That's what we put down here then. And I can just go ahead with that. Negative 2 plus 17.78 equals, divided by 6, 2.63. Negative 12 minus 17.78 equals, divided by 6, negative 3.30. Okay, if you leave it 3.29, that's fine. Now, if you want to simplify it the long way, those could be that you could split it into square root of 4, square root of 79, so it would be 2 square root of 79. Just put that there, but then you wouldn't go on. You just leave it in complex form. Okay, story problems. I have made 60 of 80 free throws. How many consecutive free throws do I need to make to raise my average to 80%? So this is an average problem, so you go right to proportions. Take your percent, 80 put it over 100. That's how to make that into a ratio. Now you've made 60 of 80. Problem is that's not equal to 80% because 60 divided by 80 is 0.75. Well, that doesn't make any sense. So I obviously going to need to make a bunch of them, but then that also adds to how many we've attempted. So if I make my next 5, I've made 65, but I've attempted 85. Now, we are using the cross product rule, not the common denominator. So, cross products, A times B, C times D. Okay. Remember to put times between the parentheses, not plus, so you know you need to distribute. So A times B, that's 60 plus X times 100, and then C times D. So C is 80, and D is 80 plus X. So you're obviously going to have to distribute here, 100 to X, 100 to 60. So 60 times 100 is 6,000. Then 100 times X is 100X. If you want to put a 1 there, it's the same thing. Okay, I did not line that up well. Then over on the next one, okay, you got the plus sign there, so you need to distribute 80 times 80 and 80 times X. So that's going to be 6,400, and then 80 times X is 80X. Okay, now you're ready to solve for X. It's just X, there's no power with it, so there's one answer, and we apply linear properties. So linear properties, if you have X on opposite sides, you take out the smaller one. Okay, so it's going to be 6,000 plus 80X. Or sorry, minus 80, 20X. 20X equals 6,400. Okay. Then you got plus and times, so you minus your 6,000 from the 6,400, which is 400. And you divide that by 20, and that's 20. Okay. So you have to make your next 20 free throws to get it in a row. Okay. Okay, next problem. Two cars travel for equal amounts of time. They travel for a distance of 200 miles and 220 miles respectively. One car travels an average of 15 miles per hour faster than the other. Find the time each car travels. Okay, this is the dirt problem. That's what I'm going to be using, distance, rate, time. I know it becomes a proportion, but I got to line it up correctly. Okay, so you got car 1, car 2. And then distance, rate. You can write rate or speed. It doesn't really matter. It means the same thing. And then time. Okay, distance, that's your miles. So 200 and 220. Okay, per 50 miles per hour, but it says faster than the other. Okay, that means this guy going the greater distance, he went 15 faster. That doesn't mean he went 15 miles per hour. But I don't know how much, what's added to that, so it's R, and this is just R without. Okay, now the time. We know that the times are equal. We also need to know that the time is taking the distance divided by the rate. So I can't actually divide, but I can set up a ratio here. Distance is 200 and the rate's R. Distance is 220 with the rate R plus 15. Now set those equal to each other. And I think you can just go ahead and use cross products. Now just because you find your rate, the hours, you need to find what R is and divide 200 by R would be the easiest way. Okay, so A times B is equal to C times D. Okay, so A times B, you're taking 200 times R plus 15. C times D. You're taking 220 times R. Okay, so there's no plus over there, so you just distribute 220R. There is a plus over here, so you distribute 200. You would drop the plus, that's 200R. 200 times 15 is 3,000. Okay. Now when you go to solve for R, okay, it's just R. Okay, there's no R to any power, so you apply linear properties to solve it. Okay. Okay, you got R's on both sides. Take out the smaller one. So it's 20R and then 3,000. Then you divide by 20. 3,000 divided by 20. 150. Okay. Whoa, that's a fast car. That's a fast rate. Okay, let me recalculate that. 3,000 divided by... Yeah, that's right. This is going to be a weird answer. Okay. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Other race cars, I guess. Okay, we'll call them race cars. Because that's a high rate for a race car. Okay. We can verify if it's right by taking 200 divided by 150. Yeah, just put 150 there. 1.3 repeating. This would be 220 divided by 165. Same thing, so it's the right answer. Okay, it's kind of bogus, but that's my fault. 1.3 or 1 1/3 or 1 hour 20 minutes if you want to get down to brass tacks. Okay, next problem. Two friends can paint 2 houses in 5 hours. How long will it take them to paint the houses if they work separately, given the fact that one friend paints twice as fast as the other? Okay. So, now you're not doing a dirt table. You're not dealing with average. Go back to your units. I mean, if I'm given 2 important units, houses and hours, I want to see how they relate. So X is hours, Y is houses. So per. Houses per hour, don't know, okay? So X is hours, Y is houses, just one table because they're working together. So I put 0, but I do not go 1, 2, 3 because I don't know the rate of change, okay? So 5 hours, 2 houses. Now if you sat on your butt and didn't do anything, it'd be 0. So when these both start at 0, that means the ratio is the way to go. It's proportions. But this is together, and if they're working separately, there would be 2 different ones. Think about it. So it's important you put the X unit on bottom, hours. Then the Y unit, houses, up above it. Okay, 2 houses in 5 hours. Okay. All right, now, if they were working separately and one of them just wasn't there, you'd still have 2 houses to paint. Now, the hours, we don't know anything about. Those are the answers, but we know that one is twice as fast as the other. So twice means times 2, not plus 2. So X times 2 and X. Okay, you can't do your cross products. You have to use the common denominator method. Drop your tops. Nothing's going to get parenthesized because they're just 2's. Bottoms. Pretty sure I can drop my bottoms too because I don't have plus or minus there. That is one. There's no plus or minus. Believe it or not, it might not look like it, but it's one term because X times 2 is 2X. That's one term. That's one term. So no polynomials to factor. So you got outer X, 2, outer X again, and then 5. So outer X, 1, 1, 0. You got to get that last one so it has an outer X. Okay. 2, 1, 0, 0. Okay. So you got to get these 2 so they have the outer 2, or the 2. 5, 0, 0, 1. Got to get these two with an outer 5. Now, are the denominators all the same? Yes, they are. Cross them out. Okay, 5 times. Guys, I wouldn't do math pop on this. It's quicker just to multiply since there's math pop is really only to use parentheses. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 times 2 is 20. You see how easy that is? 2 times x, 2x. 2x times 2 is 4x. See, there's none of that distributing stuff because there's no parentheses up there. Okay? So over here you got 4x. Over here you got 10 and 20. Those can be combined to make 30. Okay, so x is the only thing you have. You're solving for x, okay? It doesn't have a power, it's just x, so one answer, and then you apply linear properties. Okay, so pretty easy to do here. Be 7.5 or 7.5. Okay, so hours is 7.5. So this dude here took 7.5 hours. This guy would be 7.5 times 2, which is 15. Okay, last problem. We are going to use a pop of math here for this one, definitely. You can bike 12 miles per hour on a still day. That means no wind. You go to a place with the wind and come back against the wind. The trip to your destination is 30 miles. If the total time of the trip was 5.5 hours, what was the wind speed? Okay. Distance, 12 miles. Or no, that's miles per hour. Sorry, the speed is the per. Read it. 30 miles. Back was 30. 60 would be your overall total. Not that I use 60. Okay, per. 12 miles per hour. So if the wind's not blowing, you'd go 12 miles per hour speed there and 12 miles per hour back. But there is wind. So when you go with the wind, okay, you add that speed. We don't know it. Against the wind, you minus it. So the 12's been compensated for. Total time of the trip's 5.5 hours, okay, equals. Now, time you don't know. Okay, so you do your distance divided by your speed. So it'd be 30 over 12 plus x, and then 30 divided by 12 minus x. That's the distance, that's the speed or the rate. Put a plus, and it should be obvious you have to use your common denominator method. You're not going to just look at that. You know, it doesn't even look like something you could do the A, B, C, D cross products with. So you extend your lines. Tops you drop. Obviously nothing in parentheses, they're all single terms. Okay, that's 2 terms, put it in parentheses, that's 2. Now normally we try to factor the bottoms, but I'm telling you on these, the bottoms will not be able to be factored. The GCF would be 1, it wouldn't be a DOPS, okay? So you just those cannot be rewritten. So the common denominator, you got the parentheses 12 plus x, and then the quantity 12 minus x. So you have one of those here, 0 here, and 0 here. So these two need a 12 plus x. 12 minus x is not the same thing as 12 plus x. Totally different values. Minus x, 0, 1, 0. So this one and this one need the 12 minus x. Okay, so you can pop a math that, but it's going to be 360 minus 30x. Because that'd be 360, and that'd be plus negative, that'd be negative 30x. Negative 30x plus 360. They write it in the standard form for you. And over here, very similar, it's going to be 360 plus 30x. x plus 360. They just wrote in the order. Now, if you didn't have Papa Math, what you would do, okay, since these are conjugates, just the second term's flipped, you just times these and times these, then you times the binomial, because the middle x's would cancel out by 5.5, but we'll just calculate that. Negative 5.5x to the second power plus 792. Okay, so this, as always, you just take out of its parentheses. This, you got x constant, 30 plus negative 30, 30 makes 0. You're crossing it out because they add to 0. You don't just always do that, okay? 360 plus 360 is 720, okay? So look at the equation. You have x to the second. That's the only power x is 2. There's no x to the first anywhere. So there are two answers, but we just apply the linear property square root method, okay? So x is over here. You got times and plus, okay? So you minus your 792. It's going to be negative 72. And then negative 5.5 times x to the second. Then you divide by your negative 5.5. .09. Now you do need to find the square root of that. You can square root a decimal, okay? So since it's to the second, it'd be positive, negative. So I go 2 second caret 13.09. Okay, 3.62. So you have the positive or the negative in the equation, but the overall answer is the positive. So not much wind speed there.